The rain hammered against the cracked pavement as 8-year-old Maya pressed herself deeper into the narrow alley between two towering office buildings. Her threadbare jacket offered little protection against the October chill that cut through downtown Seattle like a blade. She had been living on these streets for 3 weeks now, ever since the foster system had failed her once again. Maya's stomach growled with a hunger that had become her constant companion. She rummaged through the dumpster behind the upscale restaurant, hoping to find something edible among the discarded waste. Her small fingers, dirty and trembling from cold, pushed aside empty containers and soggy napkins. That's when she saw it. A black leather bag, partially hidden beneath a pile of cardboard boxes. It looked expensive, completely out of place in this grimy alley. Maya glanced around nervously, her survival instincts screaming danger. But curiosity and desperation won over caution. She pulled the bag free, surprised by its weight. The leather was soft and pristine, unmarked by the filth surrounding it. With shaking hands, she unzipped it slowly, her breath catching in her throat. Stacks of cash filled the bag completely, more money than Maya had ever seen in her short, difficult life. $100 bills bound with rubber bands, neat and organized. Her mind raced as she tried to process what she was seeing. This could change everything: food, shelter, maybe even a chance at a real life. But deep in her heart, Maya knew this money didn't belong to her. Someone was probably looking for it. Someone who might be just as desperate as she was. She zipped the bag closed, her decision already forming in her young mind. Alexander Hartwell stood in his corner office on the 42nd floor, staring down at the city below through floor-to-ceiling windows. At 35, he commanded one of Seattle's most successful investment firms, but today his usual confidence was shattered. His hands shook slightly as he ended another fruitless phone call with his security team. The bag contained more than just money. It held the future of his company, $3 million in untraceable cash, meant for a deal that would save hundreds of jobs. Without it, Hartwell Industries would collapse within days, taking down not just his empire, but the livelihoods of everyone who depended on him. His assistant, Jennifer, knocked softly before entering. Her usually composed demeanor showed cracks of concern. "Mr. Hartwell, the police have expanded their search radius. They're checking all the security cameras in a 6-block area around where you last had the bag." Alexander ran his hands through his dark hair, a gesture that betrayed his growing desperation. He had been so careful, so meticulous in planning this transaction. One moment of carelessness, setting the bag down while helping an elderly woman who had fallen, and everything was gone. "Sir, there's something else," Jennifer continued hesitantly. "The board is meeting tomorrow morning. If we can't produce the funds—" She didn't need to finish. Alexander knew the consequences. Bankruptcy. Disgrace. The end of everything he had built from nothing after his own childhood of poverty. He turned back to the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. Somewhere in this vast city was his salvation, and he was running out of time to find it. Maya clutched the bag tightly as she made her way through the maze of downtown streets. The weight of it seemed to increase with every step, not from its physical mass, but from the moral burden it represented. She had spent the night in a doorway, using the bag as a pillow, afraid to let it out of her sight. Now, in the grey morning light, she stood across the street from the imposing glass tower that bore the name Hartwell Industries in elegant silver letters. She had seen the man's business card tucked into one of the bag's compartments: Alexander Hartwell, CEO. The building intimidated her with its pristine marble entrance and uniformed security guards. Maya looked down at her dirty clothes and matted hair. She didn't belong in a place like this, but the bag in her hands said otherwise. Taking a deep breath, she crossed the street and approached the main entrance. The security guard, a kind-faced man in his 50s, noticed her immediately. His expression shifted from suspicion to concern as he took in her obvious state of homelessness. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said gently, kneeling to her level. "Are you lost? Do you need help finding your parents?" Maya shook her head, her voice barely a whisper. "I need to see Mr. Hartwell. I have something that belongs to him." The guard's eyebrows rose skeptically. "Mr. Hartwell is a very busy man, honey. Maybe I can help you instead." Maya held up the bag, and the guard's expression changed instantly. He had been briefed about the missing bag, told to watch for anyone who might have information about it. But he never expected it would be a child. "Please," Maya said, her eyes pleading, "I just want to give it back." The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt endless. Maya stood beside the security guard, Tom, who had insisted on escorting her personally. Her reflection in the polished steel doors showed a girl who looked far older than her 8 years, weathered by experiences no child should endure. Alexander paced his office like a caged animal when Tom's call came through. A homeless child claiming to have his bag. It seemed impossible, yet hope flared in his chest like a dying ember suddenly given oxygen. When the elevator doors opened, Alexander saw her immediately, small, fragile, with enormous brown eyes that held too much knowledge of the world's cruelties. She clutched his bag against her chest as if it were a lifeline. Their eyes met across the expanse of his luxurious office, and something shifted in Alexander's chest. This wasn't just about the money anymore. "You're Mr. Hartwell?" Maya asked, her voice steady despite her obvious nervousness. "I am." Alexander approached slowly, not wanting to frighten her. "And you found my bag?" Maya nodded, extending it toward him. "I found it in the alley behind Romano's restaurant. I looked inside. I'm sorry." Alexander took the bag with trembling hands, quickly checking its contents. Everything was there, down to the last dollar. Relief flooded through him, but it was immediately replaced by something else, curiosity about this remarkable child. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Maya. Maya, do you understand what you've just done? You could have kept this money, you could have disappeared, and no one would have found you." Maya's chin lifted slightly. "It wasn't mine to keep." In that moment, Alexander saw something in her that reminded him of himself at that age, proud, principled, and utterly alone. Alexander gestured toward the leather chairs arranged around his office's sitting area. Maya perched on the edge of one, looking tiny against its massive frame. Her eyes darted around the room, taking in the expensive artwork and panoramic city views. "Maya, where are your parents?" Alexander asked gently, settling into the chair across from her. The question hit like a physical blow. Maya's composure cracked slightly, revealing the frightened child beneath her brave facade. "I don't have any," she whispered. "My mom died when I was 5. I've been in foster care since then, but—" She trailed off, unable to voice the painful details of her recent experiences. Alexander felt his heart constrict. He recognized the look in her eyes, the same hollow emptiness he had carried as a child when his own parents died in a car accident, leaving him to navigate the system alone. "Where are you staying now?" he pressed, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "Wherever I can find a safe place," Maya admitted, her voice barely audible. The admission hung in the air between them. Alexander stood and walked to his window, his mind racing. This child had returned $3 million while living on the streets. She possessed an integrity that most adults lacked, a moral compass that had guided her to do the right thing despite her desperate circumstances. "Maya," he said, turning back to face her, "you saved my company today. You saved hundreds of jobs, including that of the security guard who brought you up here. Do you understand that?" Maya shook her head, confusion evident in her expression. That money was meant for a very important business deal. Without it, everything would have been lost. For the first time, Maya smiled slightly. "So I did something good," You did something extraordinary. Alexander returned to his chair, leaning forward with an intensity that made Maya sit up straighter. She could see something working behind his eyes, a decision forming that would change everything. Maya, I want to make you an offer, he began carefully. But first, I need you to understand something about me. He paused, gathering thoughts he had never shared with anyone. I grew up in foster care too. My parents died when I was 10, and I spent 8 years bouncing between homes, some good, most not so good. I know what it's like to be hungry, to be scared, to feel like the whole world has forgotten you exist. Maya's eyes widened. This powerful man in his expensive suit had lived her life. I built this company from nothing, Alexander continued. I made a promise to myself that if I ever had the power to help someone the way I needed help back then, I would do it. He stood and walked to his desk, returning with a business card and a pen. On the back, he wrote an address. I have a house in Queen Anne. It's too big for one person, and it's been empty except for me for too long. I'm offering you a place to stay, a chance to go to school, to have the childhood you deserve. Maya stared at the card, afraid to believe what she was hearing. But why? She whispered. You don't know me. I know enough, Alexander replied firmly. I know you're honest. I know you're brave. I know you did the right thing when it would have been easier to do wrong. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. Maya looked up at him, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess up? Then we'll figure it out together. The silence stretched between them as Maya processed Alexander's offer. She had learned not to trust easily, too many broken promises from adults who claimed they wanted to help. But something in Alexander's eyes reminded her of her mother, a warmth that felt genuine. You really lived on the streets? Maya asked, needing to understand this man who seemed too polished, too successful to have ever known real hardship. Alexander nodded, his expression growing distant. Aged out of the system at 18, with nothing but the clothes on my back and a fierce determination to never be powerless again. I slept in shelters, worked 3 jobs, put myself through college 1 class at a time. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing a small scar on his forearm. Got this when I was 12, trying to climb a fence to escape from a particularly bad placement. The foster father there. He stopped, shaking his head. Some experiences shape you, Maya. They either break you or make you stronger. Maya studied his face, searching for deception and finding none. Slowly, she reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a crumpled photograph, a woman with kind eyes and Maya's smile. This is my mom, she said quietly. She always told me to trust my instincts about people. She said good people have a light in their eyes. Alexander waited, understanding the significance of this moment. I can see your light, Maya whispered. Relief flooded Alexander's features. Does that mean you'll let me help you? Maya nodded slowly, then more firmly. Yes, but I have one condition. Name it. If I ever want to leave, you'll let me go. No questions asked. Deal, Alexander said without hesitation, extending his hand. Partners? Maya shook it solemnly. Partners. The ride to Queen Anne passed in comfortable silence. Maya pressed her face against the window of Alexander's Tesla, watching the city transform from downtown steel and glass to tree-lined residential streets. She had never been in a car this nice, had never imagined she would be. Alexander's house took her breath away. A modern craftsman-style home with large windows and a wraparound porch. It looked like something from a magazine. The front yard was meticulously maintained, with flower beds that spoke of careful attention. It's beautiful, Maya breathed as they pulled into the driveway. It's home, Alexander replied simply. Or at least, I hope it will be for you. Inside, The house was warm and inviting despite its obvious expense. Hardwood floors gleamed under soft lighting, and comfortable furniture arranged in conversation areas made the large spaces feel intimate rather than intimidating. Alexander led her upstairs to a bedroom that made Maya gasp. It was larger than any place she had ever lived, with a queen-sized bed covered in soft blue linens, a desk by the window, and built-in bookshelves waiting to be filled. "This would be your room," Alexander said, watching her reaction carefully. "We can change anything you don't like." Maya walked slowly around the space, touching the furniture, as if to confirm it was real. "It's perfect," she whispered. "There's a bathroom right through that door," Alexander continued, "and my room is down the hall if you need anything. Are you hungry? I could order some food." At the mention of food, Maya's stomach responded with an audible growl, making them both smile. "I'll take that as a yes," Alexander chuckled. "What do you like?" "Anything," Maya said honestly. "I'm not picky." "Well, we'll have to work on that. Everyone should be picky about something." Over the following days, Alexander and Maya began the delicate process of learning to live together. Alexander worked from home when possible, not wanting to leave Maya alone too long as she adjusted to her new environment. Maya explored the house cautiously, still unable to believe it was real. She discovered Alexander's home office, lined with business books and awards. The kitchen, with its granite countertops and professional-grade appliances, intimidated her until Alexander taught her how to make simple meals. "I'm not much of a cook," he admitted, showing her how to operate the microwave. "I usually order takeout or eat at the office, but we should probably learn together." Their first shared meal was Chinese takeout eaten on the living room floor while watching a nature documentary. Maya had never seen anything like it: the vast African savanna, the migration of wildebeest, the circle of life playing out in stunning detail. "The world is so big," she murmured, mesmerized by the images. "It is," Alexander agreed, "and someday, if you want, you can see it all." Maya looked at him skeptically. "People like me don't get to see the world." "People like us," Alexander corrected gently. "And yes, we do. It just takes longer to get there." That night, Maya lay in her new bed, staring at the ceiling. The mattress was soft, the sheets clean and warm. For the first time in months, she felt safe. But safety was a luxury she had learned not to trust. She slipped out of bed and crept to the window, looking down at the street below. Part of her expected to see police cars, social workers, someone coming to take this dream away. Instead, she saw only quiet suburban peace, and slowly, carefully, she allowed herself to hope. A week into their new arrangement, Alexander noticed Maya's reluctance to talk about her past. She answered direct questions, but volunteered little about her experiences in foster care or on the streets. He recognized the protective mechanism. He had perfected it himself at her age. He decided to share first. "I had a foster father once who locked me in a closet when I misbehaved," Alexander said one evening as they sat in the living room. Maya was reading a book from his extensive library, and he was reviewing business documents. Maya looked up, surprised by the unexpected revelation. "I was 13, Alexander continued, not looking at her directly. "I had been placed with the Hendersons for about 6 months. Mr. Henderson had a temper, and Mrs. Henderson pretended not to notice. The closet was dark and cramped, and I would stay there for hours sometimes." "What did you do?" Maya asked quietly. "I learned to disappear inside my own mind. I would imagine I was somewhere else, a successful businessman in a big office, helping other kids who were stuck like I was." He smiled slightly. "I guess some dreams do come true." Maya closed her book, marking her place carefully. "My last foster dad used to take money from my allowance to buy beer, said I didn't deserve it anyway since the state was already paying him to keep me." It was the first personal detail she had shared. and Alexander felt the trust it represented. "Some people shouldn't be allowed around children," he said simply. "But you're different," Maya observed. "Why?" Alexander considered the question carefully. "Because I remember what it felt like to be powerless. I remember what it felt like to be forgotten. And you don't want me to feel that way." Never again. Enrolling Maya in school proved more complicated than Alexander had anticipated. Without legal guardianship, he faced bureaucratic hurdles that tested his patience and resources. But his lawyers worked quickly, and within 2 weeks, Maya found herself standing in front of Westwood Elementary, clutching a new backpack filled with supplies. "What if they don't like me?" Maya asked, her confidence wavering as they watched other children stream through the entrance. "Then they're missing out on knowing someone pretty amazing," Alexander replied, adjusting her backpack straps. "But I think you'll be surprised. Most kids are kinder than you expect." Maya's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, was a warm woman in her 40s who had been briefed on Maya's situation. She welcomed Maya with genuine enthusiasm, introducing her to the class without drawing attention to her circumstances. At first, Maya struggled to fit in. She was academically behind, having missed significant schooling during her time in unstable placements. But she was hungry to learn, staying after school for tutoring and spending evenings at Alexander's dining room table working through homework. Alexander hired a tutor, Dr. Sarah Chen, who specialized in helping children who had experienced educational disruption. Dr. Chen was patient and encouraging, helping Maya build confidence along with knowledge. "She's remarkably resilient," Dr. Chen told Alexander after a month of sessions. "Her reading level has improved dramatically, and her mathematical reasoning is quite strong. She just needed someone to believe in her potential." Maya began making friends slowly. She was cautious about invitations to playdates or birthday parties, still not entirely convinced that her new life was permanent. But gradually, she started to open up, bringing home stories about her classmates and teachers. "Emma asked if I wanted to join the art club," Maya announced one evening over dinner. "Do you want to?" Alexander asked. "I think so. I've never tried art before." "Then we should definitely try it." 3 months into their life together, Alexander and Maya had developed routines that felt natural and comfortable. Saturday mornings were for grocery shopping and household chores. Sunday afternoons were for exploring Seattle, museums, parks, the waterfront. Weekday evenings were homework time, followed by reading or watching documentaries. Maya's artwork from school began appearing on Alexander's refrigerator, a sight that never failed to make him smile. Her drawings showed progression from simple stick figures to more detailed scenes of houses with families, trees with elaborate root systems, and cityscapes viewed from high windows. "This one's my favorite," Alexander said one evening, pointing to a drawing of 2 figures standing in front of a large house. "Tell me about it." "It's us," Maya said simply. "At home." The word home hit Alexander with unexpected force. Somewhere along the way, this arrangement had stopped being temporary in his mind as well. Maya's nightmares had become less frequent, though they still occurred occasionally. Alexander learned to recognize the signs: restless sleep, small cries in the night. He would sit by her bed until she settled, sometimes reading quietly until morning. "You don't have to stay," Maya told him one night after a particularly vivid dream about being lost in a crowd. "I know," Alexander replied. "I want to." Their relationship was evolving beyond guardian and ward. They were becoming family, though neither had spoken the word aloud. Alexander found himself changing too. His work schedule became more flexible, his priorities shifting to accommodate Maya's needs. Business dinners were declined if they conflicted with school events. Weekend work sessions were moved to accommodate Maya's activities. His colleagues noticed the change. Jennifer commented on his improved mood, his increased patience during difficult negotiations. "Fatherhood suits you," she observed one afternoon. Alexander didn't correct her terminology. Not everything was smooth sailing. Maya's past trauma occasionally surfaced in unexpected ways. A raised voice during a business call sent her retreating to her room. A social worker's routine visit triggered a panic attack that took hours to resolve. Alexander learned to navigate these moments with patience and understanding, but they reminded him of how fragile their progress could be. The biggest challenge came when Maya's caseworker, Ms. Patterson, suggested that permanent placement with a traditional family might be more appropriate. "Mr. Hartwell, while I appreciate your commitment to Maya, you're a single man with demanding career responsibilities. Maya needs stability, consistency." Alexander felt his protective instincts flare. She has stability. She has consistency. She has a home. "For now," Ms. Patterson replied diplomatically. "But what happens when your business requires travel? When you decide to start a family of your own? Maya has already experienced too much disruption." The conversation haunted Alexander for days. He found himself watching Maya more carefully, looking for signs that she was unhappy or felt insecure. But what he saw was a child who was thriving, her grades improving, her confidence growing, her smile becoming more frequent and genuine. Maya sensed his worry during dinner one evening. "Are you going to send me away?" she asked suddenly, her fork suspended halfway to her mouth. "Never," Alexander replied without hesitation. "Why would you think that?" "The lady who came to visit looked at me like I was a problem to be solved." Alexander set down his own fork and gave Maya his full attention. "Maya, I want you to understand something. This is your home. You belong here. No one is going to take you away from me, and I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "I promise. We're family now." 6 months after Maya found the bag of money, Alexander stood in a courthouse wearing his best suit, his hands shaking slightly as he signed the final adoption papers. Maya sat beside him in a new dress they had picked out together, her small hand clasped firmly in his. The judge, a kindly woman in her 60s, smiled down at them from her bench. "Mr. Hartwell, do you understand the responsibilities you're accepting today?" "I do, Your Honor." "And Maya, do you understand that Mr. Hartwell is now legally your father?" Maya nodded solemnly, then looked up at Alexander with eyes that sparkled with joy. "Does this mean I can call you Dad?" Alexander felt tears threaten for the first time in years. "I'd like that very much." Outside the courthouse, they celebrated with ice cream and a trip to the bookstore, where Maya picked out 3 new books for her ever-growing collection. That evening, as they sat in their living room, Maya reading in the chair that had become hers, Alexander reviewing documents that seemed far less important than they once had, he reflected on how dramatically his life had changed. A homeless child had found more than just money in that alley. She had found a father. And a lonely businessman had found more than just his missing bag. He had found his daughter. Maya looked up from her book, catching him watching her. "What are you thinking about, Dad?" The word still sent warmth through his chest. "I'm thinking about how sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places." Maya smiled, the same smile that had convinced him months ago that she could see the light in people. "Like finding family in an alley behind a restaurant?" "Exactly like that." Outside, Seattle's evening lights twinkled like stars, illuminating a city where miracles could happen when integrity met opportunity, and where 2 lost souls had found their way home to each other.